so many topical issues, local, regional, and international. The world is watching closely what's happening in the Middle East. The Americans are now directly involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. And the major capitals of the world are bracing for more problems. Yeah. Well, more on that later, because we have a lot to talk about and to deal with at home. Yes. The election campaign is intensifying, and one of the things we should try to do is to hold the focus on the issues that really matter in our lives. Yeah, we should pay less attention and time to the hype, the tracing, and more focus on the things that make our lives as Jamaicans living in Jamaica better. One of our weaknesses in the politics, especially at election time, is that we allow those in power or those who seek to gain power to get off on distractions, hype, and don't hold them to their plans to make our lives better, more meaningful. And one of the things that have dogged us as Jamaicans who choose to stay here, a lot of us have options. Many more don't. But some of us do, and we choose to stay here. Too many of us have had to suffer the grief of losing our family members, or friends, or colleagues to the monster of crime. Crime has been far too long a constant, deadly companion of too many of us. Too many of us. And as I was saying to a couple of people on the weekend, in my 63 years, I did not know I would live to see the point where, as a reporter, as a journalist, we could report as a matter of fact that major crimes, and the one crime that gives us the greatest grief and suffering, murders, are actually going down. I remember about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, a former commissioner of police, former chief of staff of the JDF, Rear Admiral Hartley Lewin, on this program, when we started to see the first glimmer of hope. I remember Rear Admiral Lewin saying to me and the listeners, "No shouts yet. Let us see if it becomes a pattern. Let us see whether the decrease is going to be sustainable. Let us wait." And I'll never forget that. Well, for the third year in a row, we now see a clear pattern, a clear trend. And for those of us who lived through the most crime-ridden and violent years of the 1970s, when crime really took off in Jamaica, the 1980s, the 1990s, the 21st century, 2000s. Now we're 25 years into the 21st century. And we now see a clear trend. And you know, we have so politicized crime management over the years that unfortunately, sadly, some Jamaicans don't want to acknowledge this fact because it's going to give political props to one party or another, the party in government, and especially at a time when the two parties are in a battle in an election campaign. Well, I don't care one hoot. What I care about is the fact that I've lived to see, murders going down, robberies going down, all major crimes going down in Jamaica. I can now talk to my family members overseas who kept on telling me, Cliff, give me some advice. You think I should really come back and invest in a house here or a property here? I'm afraid of the crime. I can now point to these figures. And on Friday afternoon, I heard not a Jamaican, but the president of the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police, Darren Simmons, commenting on what Jamaica has been able to achieve where crime management and fighting is concerned. He's a commissioner of police of Bermuda. And when I sat there listening to it, I said, well, it's really happening and the world is beginning to appreciate what we have been doing. And that's how I'm going to begin this morning. I don't know how many of you heard from Commissioner Simmons. He's not a Jamaican. He's a police commissioner of Bermuda. Bermuda is a small British overseas territory, an island, in the North Atlantic Ocean. This is what he said.
Now, it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge some of the hard truths about our region. Gang violence sadly ravages many of our islands. We have a homicide rate that is several times higher than the global average, and organized crime groups operate with sophistication that rival multinational corporations. They sometimes threaten the very foundations of our democracies. These aren't distant problems. They're knocking on each and every one of our doors every day. And here's where I find hope, and frankly, not even being Jamaican, a bit of pride. Your police force has shown us a way forward. Commissioner Blake and his team haven't just talked about transformation, they're delivering it. While our region grapples with rising violence, Jamaica has forged a new path. The numbers don't just speak, they shout about what is possible. A 44% reduction in murders, a 20% reduction in major crimes. The first quarter of 2025 recorded the lowest major crime figures in more than 25 years. And in May 2025, traditionally one of the most deadliest months it has become the second lowest in over 2 decades. These changes are the envy of every Caribbean nation. Indeed, any police force the world over would celebrate numbers like these. Jamaica just hasn't improved. You've transformed the definition of what well-led, sufficiently funded, and I'm going to come back to that, a Caribbean police force can achieve. But here's what really matters. JCF didn't achieve this through enforcement alone. They have also built trust by focusing on people, quality, and technology, by recognizing that 21st century policing requires 21st century thinking. You see, communities don't just want warriors. They want partners. They don't just want occupiers. They want protectors, capable guardians. They don't want to fear the police. They want to trust the police with a healthy dose of respect. My friends, community confidence isn't just a nice to have. It's the very foundation of policing. When communities trust the police, they share information with the police. When they share information with the police, we, the police, solve more crimes. And when we solve more crimes, we build more trust. And that's the circle of community confidence that leads to successful policing. JCF are building trust with their communities. They are embracing transparency. They're making policing a partnership, not a battle.
That's the Commissioner of Police of the island of Bermuda. And he's Simons, Darren Simons. Yes? I think I said Simmons. No, it's Simons. And of course, he was speaking at the expo, the technology expo, put on by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, dubbed Expo 2.0 at the National Arena last Thursday. Yeah? And, you know, you heard what he said. As a Caribbean man, given the ravages of gangs and violence throughout the region, he was proud that finally a Caribbean country seems to be getting it right. Finally. Well, time for the break.